Today, we are making small batch biscuits. They're flaky, they're tender, they're buttery. They are everything a biscuit should be. I truly think they are the best biscuits. And they come together in under 30 minutes, so they are the perfect addition to any meal. And the recipe makes 4 biscuits. You can double or triple it if you need more. Hi, I'm Leanne from YourHomeBasedMom.com. Join me in the kitchen today as we make small batch recipes with big taste. Because these biscuits come together so easily, they are the perfect addition to just about any meal. Make sure you check out my small batch lasagna and my small batch chili. They'd be perfect with these biscuits. All right, well, let's get started. We're going to start by combining our dry ingredients into a bowl. We are going to start with 1 cup of all-purpose flour, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, just a 1/4 teaspoon, just a little bit of sugar, just like a little bit of sweet in there. We're going to use a 1/2 tablespoon of baking powder. Now, baking powder is a really important ingredient in these biscuits. It's what's going to give them their flaking, their oomph, and their height. So make sure that you're using fresh baking powder, not something that's been sitting on your pantry shelf for a long time. And then we're going to add in just 1/8 teaspoon of baking soda. Now go ahead and just fluff all of these ingredients together. All right, had to pull my butter out of the refrigerator because you want to keep this in the refrigerator until you are ready because you want to use cold butter. And I've taken my butter, I have 2 tablespoons of butter here, and I've just cubed it up to make it easier for me to incorporate into my biscuits. And I'm going to use a pastry blender and cut this butter into my dry ingredients. Now, if you don't have one of these, you could use a fork, you can just get in there and use your hands. But you want to break down that butter into there so it's just like little tiny, you'll still see the butter, but it'll be little tiny little flecks of butter. So you may find as you are cutting in your butter that your bowl dances around on the counter. A little trick, just put it on a towel and it'll help to keep the bowl in one spot. All right, so we've got the butter incorporated and now we're ready to add in 1/2 cup of sour cream. You could also use Greek yogurt if you like. I prefer the whole milk Greek yogurt and a full fat sour cream. And we're gonna mix that in. And we're going to add in about 1 teaspoon of water to start with. We'll probably need a little bit more. It's just going to take, we just have to play it by feel and look to see what we need. Because we want to get all that flour incorporated. But we don't want to over mix or over beat this biscuit dough. So I always like to do it by hand. And I'm eventually going to probably just get in here with my hands and mix it together. Kind of just like do a little pinching motion. Because you don't want to overwork the dough. You don't want to overheat those little pieces of butter that are still in there and melt those. You want them to melt as the biscuit is baking. And I think I'm going to need just a little bit more water. Just do a little at a time because you don't want to get too much and then have to add more flour and it kind of becomes a vicious circle. All right, I think I've about got it. It may feel a little bit dry, but as it comes together, there we go. All right. And just right when you get all that dry ingredients incorporated, we're going to take it and put it onto the counter. And I'm just going to knead it a couple of times with my hands. We're not going to use a rolling pin or anything. We're just going to use our hands to kind of flatten it in to a circle. I usually like to do it in a square. And we want it about 1 inch thick, so it's pretty thick. All right, there we go. I'm going to go wash my hands and we'll cut our biscuits. All right, we're going to cut our dough into 4 biscuits. Now, you could use a round biscuit cutter if you like. You can use the rim of a glass kind of dipped in some flour to cut it out. I'm just going to cut mine into squares, so I'm just going to use my bench scraper here. You could also use a knife. If you're using a biscuit cutter, you don't want to twist it as you're cutting it because what that's going to do is going to seal the size of the biscuit and then you're not going to get that nice tall flaky biscuit. So just go down with a straight cut and don't, wiggle it down because you don't want to seal those edges. All right, so I'm just going to take my 4 biscuits and I'm going to place them on my baking sheet. We're going to bake them at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 to 17 minutes. You just want them to turn nice and golden brown. But here's the trick that's going to make them amazing is every 5 minutes, we're going to open up the oven, we're going to baste them with some melted butter. So we're going to do that twice during the baking process. So good. All right, our biscuits are done. They smell so good. And I just want to see, can you see That is what you want in a biscuit. So that nice flaky, that height, that flakiness, perfect. Like I said, these are the best biscuits. Now, of course, biscuits need to be eaten warm, fresh out of the oven. So gonna add a little butter, a little honey, a little jam. So good. I hope you'll give this recipe a try, and make sure and check out my other small batch recipes down below there, and we'll see you in the next video.